I've got a pretty small shop, so I need to be able to put tools away fairly easily. In my shop, the laser lives under my CNC router, so I needed a solution to disconnect the chiller that was easier than undoing hose clamps. So I came up with this aluminum block that uses hydraulic quick connect fittings. These are the parts that I purchased off Amazon. I will have the affiliate links in the bottom. You just look at the numbers that are beside the description. The first thing that I had to do was cut out some templates, and I glued them onto the aluminum block so I knew where to drill. I then used a center punch to mark their locations, and it was off to the drill press to use several different size drill bits to both drill the holes for the hydraulic fittings as well as to countersink for the socket head cap screws that I'm going to use to affix it to the wall. I used some A9 cutting fluid when I was tapping in these aluminum blocks, and then I used compressed air, files, and some sandpaper to clean up the aluminum. I then assembled all the components into the main block, and it was ready to install. I temporarily attached the hydraulic fittings onto the nipples just for this picture. I then removed them so then I could use the socket head cap screws and screw it into the wall.
Now that I've got this block made, the laser usually sits right here when it's in use. So I'm going to mount the coolant block right beside the air block, so then it's easy to connect both. So to do that, I'm going to put some threaded inserts in the wall. These are just quarter 20 threaded inserts. There's some socket head cap screws to fit through the three holes. The great thing about these fittings is the coolant won't leak because there is a gasket in there, and there's a gasket in here that only when these two press together, then it opens the line here and opens the line here. So when you decouple it, this one closes. There might be a tiny bit that leaks out, but unlike an airline where the male end typically is just open, and as soon as you open it, it bleeds the line. That won't happen with this. So the laser will stay filled with coolant, and the lines will stay filled with coolant. So now I'm underneath the CNC, and you can see the chiller is going to live right here. Got a power bar up here that I'm going to install two of these Wi-Fi switches. Why I need two is because one is going to be to turn on the chiller, and then one will be for this 75 watt aquarium heater. It's currently -15 out, and I don't want to run -15 antifreeze through either the laser or the CNC. So that'll just sit in the top here, and we'll go up to that power bar. So the pipe's gonna route down from out there along this wall, over across this wall, and down into the chiller.
After running and connecting the coolant lines to the chiller, I routed them up the wall and installed some flow box on both the supply and the return. The supply has a yellow wheel in it and the return has a red. They also have temperature probes that will be mounted on the wall at a later time. There's a T-fitting here because the lines will continue up and be installed into some unistrap that runs over top of the CNC. Here you can see my face. I've just turned on the chiller and no coolant's running. I've actually deadheaded the pump because over at the coolant block nothing is connected, so there's nowhere for it to go. Now that I connected to the laser, I'm much happier and the coolant is flowing back to the chiller. This is just showing now that the lines are full. There is just a tiny dribble that comes out once you disconnect it, but that's fine. I'm just going to have a little cup on the floor there to collect it. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't too much of a flow drop after I added the additional length of hose, the additional fittings, and the flow blocks. The chiller is also a lot further away than it used to be, so I disconnected the return lines and ran the pump, and these are the results. Before the changes, it took 25 seconds to get 900 milliliters into this measuring cup, so that's approximately 2.16 liters per minute or 0.57 GPM. After adding all the fittings, moving the chiller significantly further away from the laser, and running the test again, there was a decrease in flow rate of about 24%. I'm okay with this. It's very cold for most of the year, and I don't run this non-stop. But in the summer, when we actually get some hotter days, then I will see, and that's the one good thing with the temperature gauges that are going to be on the wall. I'll be able to see the supply and the return temperature and monitor it. I'm very happy with how this build turned out. It makes putting the laser away a lot easier. You don't have to disconnect the lines and undo hose clamps and then put the little chiller away. Although it's small, it's awkward and it takes up a lot of space, so now that I can just hide it in that little cubby under the CNC, I don't have to worry about it. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or concerns, please post it in the comments below.